what's your Benjamin really worth? And when I say Benjamin, obviously I'm talking about the big bills, the $100 Benjamin Franklin United States note. They come in all different dates and varieties, but what really makes them valuable? Because there's a lot more money than just $100 in some of these banknotes. Like this note right here sold for $15,600. And in this video, I'm going to be going over all different types of $100 bills that sold for a ton of money. Without any further ado, let's hop right into this video with a 1996 $100 bill. This one can completely fly under the radar because not many people know what to look for on their 1996 $100 bill. So here's the thing, someone turned a $100 bill that they could go to the bank, get a $100 bill, check for this error, and then return it once they realize that it does not have it. But if you do find it, you're in for a nice treat because this person turned their $100 bill into 420 bucks. Now, how are they able to 4x their money? They pretty much turned a $100 bill into 400 bucks. Well, here it is. Hold your bill up to the light and look at the watermark. If you're looking closely, you'll see that it's facing upright. This specific bill has what we call an inverted watermark. So the watermark was upside down. If you have an inverted watermark $100 bill, you want to get the full value of it, so make sure that you don't just sell it off or accidentally spend it. This $100 bill sold for $1,020. Wow, so this is actually a very interesting one that I wasn't actually aware of before I made this video, and that's pretty rare for someone like me, not trying to brag, but this is a incredibly unique $100 bill. The things you want to look for on this specific bill: 1, is your $100 bill from 2006? Check mark, that's good. 2, is it a Federal Reserve note from Dallas? The way you know yours is from Dallas is by the K at the start of the serial number, and you can also tell by the K11 below the serial number. The K11 are in correlation. If you didn't put 2 and 2 together yet, K is the 11th letter in the alphabet. I'm not going to go too much into depth there because I might bore you guys, but the last thing you want to look for is a star. So here are the things. You have to have a 2006 bill, you have to have a Dallas, Texas print, which is the K11 you see there, and then you need to have a star. So if you have those 3 things right there, you have this very rare bill. So what actually makes it rare? I'll try to keep this as simple and not boring as possible, but pretty much the US only produces paper money in 2 different printing facilities. You've got the Washington DC printing facility, which I've been to and had a ground tour at, or you have the Fort Worth, Texas facility. So those are the only 2 places that print paper money. Here's the thing, Fort Worth, Texas, on all of their bills will have a small FW before the front plate number on paper money. We'll show you an example of what the FW looks like on a front plate number. So if you look at the front plate positions here, you're going to see those small A's. Now the actual letter and the number combination does not matter whatsoever. What does matter is that this bill is missing the FW before that plate position. So what happened here is that in Fort Worth, Texas, when they were printing these bills, they were using the printing plates for Washington, DC. Now this never happens. This is the first time it's ever happened in US history on this specific bill. So again, 2006, K11, which means Texas, star note, it needs to be a star, and then you'll notice that it's missing an FW. That's what allowed this $100 bill to sell for so much money, and this is a very unique $100 bill that nobody would know what to look for unless you have this knowledge that we're sharing in this video. So I'm really glad that we shared that one. But this note right here is a 1950 $100 bill. Now they call this the smaller portrait. As you can see, everything looks a bit smaller there. And this one sold for $1,260, and a lot of it really comes down to the rarity and the grade. So the grade is a very high 67, 70 being the highest grade. When it comes to grading your paper money, it really comes down to, does your banknote have any folds in it? If there's a fold that goes through the bill and it hits the design anywhere, you immediately drop down to an about uncirculated 58. Now, everything from 60 to 70 is considered to be uncirculated. Now, how do you go up in grade if there's no folds on a bill? It really boils down to the centering. So if you look at the margins on this bill on the front and the back, that is the white border around the bill, you'll see that they are centered very well. Now, if they're not centered, you're going to get a lower grade. All you got to know here is that if you have a 1950D $100 bill, like this one from Richmond, you're going to have a very good time because someone turned a $100 bill into $1,260. 2,040 bucks for this 2003 $100 bill. You can see there's a ton of folds on this banknote, a lot of ink loss in the portrait area, but it still sold for a ton of money. Now, if the bill would have been in better condition, there's no question in my mind that it would have sold for a lot more money than $2,040. So why did it sell for so much money? Well, if you haven't noticed already, it is that solid number 1 serial number. The more fancy, unique, and cool your serial number is, the more money that $100 bill is going to be worth. If this person would have kept it in better condition, it would have sold for a lot more money money than $2,040. $2,160 for this 1928 $100 bill. This is what we call a numeral type, and it's also a star note with a low serial number, so a lot to break down there. It got graded at a 45, which means there's probably about 4 folds or 3 folds on this bill. Getting it down that low, the higher the grade, the more money it's going to bring. Let's break it down why this bill sold for so much money. First of all, it's a numeral type. So 1928 was the first year the US started producing small size paper money. Before that, everything was large size. It wouldn't even fit in your wallet. It would fit in a purse, obviously, because those are bigger. But 1928 was the first year, and when they were printing these bills, they had a large number 1 through 12 on the left-hand side. You can see that large number 3 standing for the Philadelphia district. That is called a district number. So the first district is Boston. The last district is San Francisco, which is 12. What you need to be looking for is that if you have a number or a letter there. If you have a large number, that means you have a numeral type bill and it's going to be worth more money. Now you're going to see 4 smaller 3s around the bill. Those are called district numbers once again. Lastly, if you look at the start of the serial number, the start of the serial number alphabetically will always correlate with the district number. For example, you can see the district number here is a 3. Now there's a point to all this, just pay attention please. The C is the 3rd letter in the alphabet. So if this bill instead had a 1 on the left hand side, the serial number would start with an A. If there's a 2, it would be a B. If there's a 3 like it is here, then it would be a C, all the way down to a 12, which would be an L at the start of the serial number. Why is that important? Well, if you ever have a numeral type where the number does not correlate with the letter in the alphabet, for example, if it's a 3 but the serial number starts with an A, that's wrong, then you can have a bill worth a lot more money. Lastly, this is a star note. I'll wrap it up with this. During the printing process, if there is a mistake on the sheet of bills, a quality control manager will destroy the sheet, produce a new sheet, put a star at the end of the serial number, signifying that it's a replacement note, and they do that for bookkeeping purposes so no shady activities happen at the printing facility. All these things combined allowed this banknote to sell for $2,160. $3,600 for this $2,600 bill from Atlanta. This is a beautiful example. You can see it's a 58, which means there is a fold somewhere on the bill. Typically a 58 means there's a center fold going right down the center, or there's a small little corner fold barely hitting the design. What you need to know here is that this is a very unique bill. Now before I tell you what's going on with this bill that sold for $3,600, if you're enjoying this video, it would help me out tremendously if you could hit that like button. I really would appreciate it. Alright, let's hop into why it sold for $3,600. It is because the serial number has a mistake on it. So let's look at the top left serial number. You can see it says 90508, and the bottom right serial number says 90598. So this is what we call a mismatched serial number error. If you ever see anything like this on your bill, contact a rare paper money expert because you're in for a treat. This one sold for $3,600. $4,817.50 for this specimen note from 1996. So we'll keep this pretty brief here, but essentially the first area I want you to look at is the very obvious specimen stamps on the front and the back, and then you have a specimen number on the back bottom right. Specimen numbers do not really matter, but what is a specimen note? You hear me saying that word a lot. To keep it really simple, back in the day, the US would print these specimen notes and send them to banks around the world to give them examples of what a genuine United States bill looks like. Now they have these in all different denominations from 1 all the way to 100, and what more than likely happened is that a bank teller was either a friend of a collector or they were a collector, and they said, hey, this would be a great bill to add to my collection. So they just probably swapped it out with another $100 bill and took it home, and voila, there they have a specimen note. Now a way you can tell if you have a genuine specimen note is by the serial number. The serial number is always going to be a fancy serial number. I've seen them in solid 1s, I've seen them in solid 0s, I've seen them ascending or descending like this, going from 2 all the way to 9. You have to be very careful out there that no one is trying to scam you and rip you off and adding a specimen stamp on a bill. This is not any advice whatsoever, but I do recommend against that because you'd be defrauding and defacing US federal currency and trying to manipulate a bill into something that it's actually not. So do not do that. I highly recommend against that. That is illegal. But if you do come across a genuine example, what you could do is send it off to a company like PMG and they'll certify it to make sure that it's real. That way you know you're getting a true example whether you're buying or selling it online. This note once again sold for $4,817.50. $7,200 for this $100 bill from 1928, and as you can see it's a numeral type. Once again, we do have the last district, which is a district number 12, San Francisco, and the serial number starts with an L, just like I said, which is the 12th letter in the alphabet. But why did this bill sell for $7,200? It may be a bit hard to tell, but this is what we call an inverted star error. So both of the star stars should have never been like this. They're actually upside down. It may be hard to tell, but we'll show an example of what a star typically will look like. If you have an inverted star air, it's going to be worth a lot of money, just like this one that sold for $7,200. $3,360 for this 2013 $100 bill. I'll keep this very simple. This is a serial number 2 bill. So this is the second bill they got printed off that sheet there when they first started printing. And I'll even show you an example of what the Fort Worth plate position should look like. At the top left there, you'll see that small FW, just like that bill earlier should have had on it, but it didn't because they were using the wrong printing plates. Either way, you got a serial number 2 bill and it sold for $3,360. Now, it is mind-blowing that one different digit can be the difference of this much money. This one sold for $15,600, all because instead of it being a serial number 2, it's a serial number 1. So if you have a serial number 1, guys, keep it very safe. Find a coin and currency expert to help you sell your banknote for the most money possible. If you haven't done it already, we highly recommend picking up our completely free coin and currency ebook down below. We hope you enjoyed the video. We will see you in the next one.